A nonprofit organization, the North Torrance Youth Musicians Ensemble, also known as nTyme, has served the South Bay community by providing free music education and enriching its music scene since 2007. Initially, nTyme started with a few small ensembles consisting of students from North Torrance. The organization now consists of 3 orchestras, concert bands, string orchestras, a jazz band, and ukulele ensembles serving students from all over Southern California. The utmost uniqueness of nTyme is its fundamental policy of accepting anyone knocking on the door, regardless of age, level, and instrument, free of charge. The pandemic created missing parts and seats in the orchestra, but by combining 2 and filling the empty seats of each other, there have been successful seasons nonetheless. One of the products of the spontaneous arrangement is having a 7-year-old and an 89-year-old playing together in an orchestra. The oldest is Miss Eileen Sumi. She is a first violinist of the community orchestra and the Endpin Ensemble, an adult string group. She has been playing in nTyme for the past 6 seasons. She is one of the most dedicated members, always willing to fill in and make music with younger students. She is also known as the best baker in the community. She would bake and bring delicious cookies to every orchestra rehearsal to reward the members' hard work. For some students, her cookies are the top incentive to get up from the couch and come to rehearsal on a Saturday afternoon. Eileen Sumi was born in Long Beach, California on October 5, 1934. Her father, Bob Saburo, was Issei and immigrated to the U.S. as a young teen. Her mother, Marie Hamamoto Inoue, was Nisei, an American-born second-generation Japanese. They lived in Wilmington and moved to East LA when Eileen was 6. Her parents owned and ran a grocery store they had taken over from Marie's parents. On December 7, 1941, Pearl Harbor was attacked by the Imperial Japanese Army. Consequently, it led President Roosevelt to issue Executive Order 9066, which forced all people of Japanese ancestry on the West Coast to leave their lives behind and move to internment camps further inland. As instructed by the government, Eileen and her parents packed up necessities. They joined the other Japanese at Union Station and traveled to an internment camp in Poston, Arizona, where they stayed for a year and a half. Most internees lived at the camps until the end of the war, but some left beforehand. Some moved out to go to college on the East Coast. Eileen's brother-in-law went to Idaho to harvest sugar beets. It was a relatively rare case to move out as a family, but Eileen's parents decided to leave the camp and relocate the family to Welty, outside of Denver, Colorado, to seek a better life. Her parents worked there as sharecroppers for a year. Another reason her family moved out to Colorado was because they knew a Japanese doctor there since Eileen was born. Her mother had health issues due to miscarriages, and having a reliable doctor nearby was crucial. The doctor was taking care of Japanese workers illegally because the state did not issue licenses to Japanese doctors. He later moved to Utah, where the Japanese were permitted to practice. It was a natural decision for Eileen's family to follow him. In Utah, her father worked as a wholesale produce distributor, mainly for roasted peanuts. Eileen started playing violin at 6 years old when she lived in East LA before the war broke. She doesn't remember if it was her idea or her parents'. Her father said she asked him. He played the mandolin and encouraged his daughter's music studies. Her first violin teacher in East LA was a Caucasian woman. She was a single mother of an adopted Japanese boy. Eileen has no clue how her father found her. She came to Eileen's house to teach until the war began. She doesn't know if her teacher and Japanese son were sent to an internment camp. According to Executive Order 9066, Japanese people on the West Coast had 1 week to pack up to leave for the camps. They could only take what they could carry. They had to limit their belongings to necessities such as bedding, linens, toiletries, clothing, forks, spoons, plates, and other essentials. Since Eileen was only a child, you can imagine taking the violin with her meant she had to give up other toys, and her parents could not expect her to help carry extra essentials. But Eileen says they didn't think twice about taking her violin to the camp. Her father even brought his mandolin. In the internment camp, she took lessons with a man named Yamamoto. Research on music activities in internment camps said Poston Camp, where Eileen was, had a symphony orchestra consisting of 22 violins, 1 viola, 13 clarinets, 1 trombone, 3 flutes, 5 trumpets, and a tuba. Eileen's teacher could have been one of them. In Colorado, she didn't have an opportunity to study with a private teacher, but music remained an essential part of her life. She attended a 1-building K-12 school in a small farm town and played in the orchestra. She is surprised she remembers vividly a few kids in the orchestra in 3rd or 4th grade. When Eileen and her family moved to Utah, she studied with the principal violist of the Utah Symphony, Fred Colt. She doesn't know how her father found him. At 10 or 11 years old, Eileen took the bus to the other side of town for lessons. She remembers the long and awkward bus rides, being the only passenger. However, the people in Utah were very kind and welcoming to the Japanese. After the war ended, the family moved back to California. They settled in Willowbrook, south of Watts, where Eileen's father purchased a home. The government set up trailer parks for the Japanese to move into as they had lost their homes when they relocated to the internment camps. Churches also opened their buildings as hostels. Whether in Arizona, Colorado, Utah, or Los Angeles, regardless of the social environments and political situations, Eileen always played violin in an orchestra. When her family restarted their life in California after the war, the first job Eileen's father got was a janitor at J.W. Robinson, a department store downtown. Eileen also remembers he had a second job as a peddler. He bought a truck, installed shelves, drove to the fashion district to buy underwear, socks, lotions, and various necessities, and sold them at trailer parks. How did he save money for her music studies? Eileen has no clue. In middle school, Eileen studied violin with Thomas Mistretta, the orchestra director of her middle school. He was also the concertmaster of the Compton Symphony. This connection paved the way for her to play in the Compton Symphony for 3 or 4 years. Ralph Metesky, director of Compton Symphony, worked with the superintendent to develop music education in the area. With the 5 middle schools in the district, they created a student orchestra. Compton College was also widening its music programs. Eileen says, what could be called the music movement was going on in Compton's history back then. One of her favorite musical experiences was at the Redlands Bowl in middle school. She played with a group of kids, but they didn't talk to her as she was the only Japanese and not from their schools. She recalls it was a strange relationship, but she felt invited to make music with them. She also remembers being invited to perform at the fashion show in West Adams. In middle school, she had an opportunity to play solo, but her instrument wasn't strong enough. Her father bought her a full-size violin, the instrument she still plays. It cost $250. The minimum wage in the 40s was 40 cents, so its value is compared to $10,000 today. She kept playing in school and community orchestras until junior college. She went to the University of Southern California and became a math teacher. She taught at high schools in Los Angeles until she retired in 1991. She hadn't played the violin for decades, until she was 83. What stopped the avid amateur musician from playing? Her answer was simple: because I had no one to play with. The door for her to resume playing came during a casual chat with her primary physician at her physical checkup. Dr. Jackie Okada, who was a devoted nTyme parent volunteer, learned Eileen used to play the violin and invited her to the organization. Eileen recollects she didn't remember how to hold the instrument correctly. However, not only did she get it back in no time, she also played in a recorder ensemble with her new friends she made in nTyme. She recently performed Bach's double violin concerto with a high school student in a fundraising event. Her ambition went as far as to start learning cello. Besides falling in love with its deep and mellow sound, a 7-year-old cellist who plays in the orchestra inspires her. She was simply amazed by her playing and became curious. She thought, "Geez, it must be hard. How hard can it be?" She learned she could borrow an instrument from nTyme and decided to give it a try. She is receiving lessons with Margaret Asado, a cellist and the director of the nTyme Ensemble. Eileen also performed with an nTyme Ensemble fellow at the Music Marathon, another fundraising event. For Eileen, music is about people. Although she's subscribed to season tickets to the Hollywood Bowl for the past 35 years and enjoys going to classical concerts, she says it's about hanging out with her friends that matters. Likewise, it's about making music with somebody, and she appreciates nTyme for providing it. She says nTyme changed her life. She made new friends, including young friends. It keeps her busy with practicing, along with going to weekly rehearsals, concerts, fundraising events, and baking cookies.